I go to uni here in Leicester in the UK, and like most students, I'm out clubbing every weekend that I can afford it. I've had some of the best nights of my life with the girls in Leicester city centre, but I'm not gonna lie. I've seen some really horrid things too. From girls weeing themselves while they're too drunk to stand, to bar fights where rabid lads were whipping bottles at each other. I think alcohol has the ability to bring out the absolute worst in people. And it was on a night out in Leicester that one of the scariest things I'd ever been part of or witness to happened right in front of me. So we're leaving a club one Saturday night, planning on stumbling over the road to the kebab house to get ourselves some cheesy chips, when we see this girl sitting outside the club, looking absolutely rotten drunk. The poor thing can barely keep her eyes open, and it doesn't look like anyone there is looking after her, which was honestly a little bit concerning. But the kebab place we ended up sitting down in had these big glass windows that looked out into the street, so from my window seat I could still keep my eyes on her. I got my cheesy chips and I'm sitting there eating them when I see this lad walk up to her, who takes her by the hand and then starts trying to get her to stand up. I was really relieved at first because I thought her boyfriend had showed up to take her home, but the longer I looked, the more I just got this bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Not only was this girl just refusing to go with this guy when she had every reason to want to get home and out of the cold, but the guy was like looking over her shoulder and looking around like he didn't want people to see what he was doing. You know, making sure the coast was clear or something. It was such an obvious sign of guilt, and I could just tell that something wasn't quite right. Eventually the guy just pulls the girl up to her feet while she weakly struggles and fails to shake him off. Then he starts dragging her away from the club and into the middle of the street. I start alerting my mates to this, and immediately we all get up from the table we're at, grabbing our boxes of chips and heading out into the street to confront the guy. We rush over, intending to give it our best British passive-aggressive, "Excuse me, do you know her?" When out of nowhere, this car rushes up and brakes violently next to the pair of them. But in doing so, one of the front wheels runs over the girl's foot, and she lets out this kind of dull wail of pain. Then as the guy drags her around the side of the car that we're approaching, we see her foot flopping around in this really unnatural way where her ankle is really obviously broken. The guy then starts to basically bundle the girl into the back of the seat that had at least 3 other guys in it, and we only just catch him in time to try to stop it. We're asking if he knows her and asking if the girl if she's alright, insisting he needs to call an ambulance for her right that instant. He starts trying to tell us that everything's okay and that he knows her, and he's going to take her to an accident emergency to have her foot looked at. One of my mates asks him what her name is, and he sort of freezes, hesitates, and pulls some random name out of his butt in a way that made it painfully obvious that he didn't know her before he walked up to her just a few minutes before. We start going mad, telling him we're going to call the police if he doesn't let her go, and this gets the other lads in the car really agitated, who start barking at him to get the girl in the car, which he does almost violently before the car starts to drive away. I'm trying to get the car's number plate while one of my mates is on the phone to the police, but I can't make it out properly. So for one horrible moment, I thought that was it, that something terrible was going to happen to that girl and we'd totally just failed to stop it. But I turn around, and my other 2 friends are piling into a Hackney cab screaming, "Get in, Chloe." Then what followed was legit like a movie. My mate is all "Follow that car," and then we're off, whizzing around Leicester city centre, following this black Volvo with the lads and the injured girl inside. As we're following it, it's just chaos in the back of the cab. One of my mates is still on the phone to the police telling them what's going on. Another one of my mates is giving the cab driver the lowdown on the situation, all the while I'm noting the fact that the lads don't seem to be driving anywhere near the local A&E. They're actually headed out of the city center towards the suburbs, which, to me, was a pretty good indicator that we're trying to take her somewhere dark and secluded to do only God knows what to her. My maid got off the phone with the police and told us that they told her that they had a unit in the area and they weren't messing about either. It was a minute or 2 before we saw blue flashing lights, and the cab driver pulled his cab back away from the Volvo to let the police slip in to pull them over. When they finally do pull over, we all pile out of the cab while the driver waits for us, watching what was going on and shouting over and over, "Liar, liar," when the guy starts telling the policeman that the girl is their friend and that they're taking her home. The other policeman who was there then comes over to us and starts getting our side of the story, which basically involved me telling him everything I'd seen and how I said it was incredibly suspicious. What happened next all unfolded over the course of like an hour, with more police cars turning up to keep an eye on the lads while one set of policemen got the girl out of the car and drove her to the hospital. I'm not sure if the lads got arrested or not, but I know they got their details taken down, and no matter what happened after that, I know the girl ended up being taken away from the obvious danger and getting her foot seen to. My only real concern then was that the cab driver was going to charge us like an arm and a leg for keeping him occupied for so long, but he actually refused to take any money off of us, and in the end, saying it was just nice to see some people doing some good in the world, and that when his daughter is our age and gets into any trouble, that he'd hope there'd be some good Samaritans like us to help her out.
This post is actually what I wrote on the internet website anonymously. Hello, I have something to ask y'all. Let's get to the point. There is a strange smell, like a fishy smell of water in my house somewhere. For your information, we don't have any fish tanks in our house, and we don't even raise fish. I can't exactly define that it's a real fishy smell of water, actually, but it smells that bad. It doesn't smell anywhere else, but particularly bad in the main room. The house where I live is newly remodeled. We had moved here and lived for about 7 months now. Since we moved here and lived for about 7 months now, there was nothing wrong with it at first. The weird thing is, it doesn't smell always like that. But I don't think I can live here anymore because of this disgusting stench. This is the first time I've ever smelled this awful smell at home. My family tried to find the source of the smell, but we have no idea what it is. At first, I thought it was coming from the curtains. When I sniffed on the curtain, I could smell something similar near the curtain. However, when I smelled it again a few days later, the stench was gone. And just yesterday, now my bed's mattress cover suddenly started smelling. I bought this around fall and washed it very often. I don't know what happened to this. I really don't know what the cause is, since I don't have anything that smells bad in my house, like foods or something. Now, I'm so freaked out. Could the house itself smell like this? If anyone knows the reason, please let me know. Thank you. A few days later, I read a few comments posted on the website. Comment number 1. Well, you should ask a control office. Comment number 2. It sounds like mold. Look carefully. The window where the curtain was attached might smell. Comment number 3. Congratulations, you've moved out. As you know, some movies go like this. When the dead body is hidden in the wall, it does smell.